Yeah, I do seem to go out of town quite a bit, but you know, one of the nice things about going out of town is coming back, because I almost liken it to the story about how you get the frog and you put him in the pot of water and you turn the stove up a little at a time, and he doesn't realize what's going on until all of a sudden he's in a pot of boiling water and he never noticed what was actually going on. Just one day he looked around and it's like, whoa. But if you get out of the pot, if you leave town and then come back and you go, wait a minute, what happened? You notice things about Chattanooga that you might not have really thought about had you been here the entire time, because, you know, it crept up on you so slowly. Yeah, we're here at Cowboy Up with Tex. And I'd been going for a couple of weeks, and I got back Saturday night and woke up Sunday morning, and I was hearing a lot of odd sounds from my neighborhood. And I was like, what in the world is going on? Well, they had the Ironman competition in town, of course, and I live over in St. Elmo, and we had a lot of people out there ringing their cowbells early in the morning. We had, you know, the people woohooing. We had the bicyclists racing up and down the street and everything. I had forgot that we had the Ironman competition going on, and it was actually pretty good, I guess, for the community at large. But for those of us that actually live on live on the street that the thing is going on, the race was going on, it was not just a minor inconvenience. I literally could not leave my house because of all of the traffic. It wasn't like I was going to be able to get the bicyclist to stop for a few seconds to let me pull out and be able to leave. So, you know, I was just stuck at home literally for a couple of hours till finally, you know, the vast majority of them got gone. And I was able to back out of my thing. You know, I couldn't just pull out. I had to back out. I've got an old truck. It's kind of slow. So it would have been just zip out and zip down the road like if I had some sort of little car. Well, you know, it made me start thinking. Here lately, the city of Chattanooga has been spending a lot of money on bicycle paths and redoing the city for bicycles. Why all of this sudden interest in bicycles? You know, they spent a lot of money on getting these city-sponsored bicycle racks where you can get the little bicycles and give them your credit card and you can bicycle them all over town. And to be blunt, they're just not really taking off. But the city spent a lot of money on it. Meanwhile, we've got bicycle routes all over town, including, ironically enough, in St. Elmo. They've taken what is a lot of people's alleyway / driveway, because there's so little parking in St. Elmo that a lot of people park in their backyards. And the only way to get to their backyards is on Virginia Avenue. So the city has decided that they're going to take Virginia Avenue and turn it into a bicycle path. Never mind the fact that there's probably only about like 10 or 20 bicycles at the most on an average day that go up and down this thing. We've got to inconvenience as many people as we possibly can for those 10 or 20 bicyclists who, ironically, also have a bike lane on St. Elmo Avenue. So let's see, they could stay in their little bicycle lane on St. Elmo Avenue, or they could inconvenience a whole lot of people on Virginia Avenue, where people actually have to pull in and out of their driveways. Meanwhile, of course, to make it a proper bike lane, the city has gone through and they've installed a bunch of stop signs, inconveniencing even more people. They're putting up bollards so that you can only drive 1 or 2 blocks before you have to turn around and not drive on Virginia Avenue, inconveniencing even more people. Meanwhile, you know, I don't see any of this stuff being done in front of or behind Andy Burke's house. So here's the main question. They're spending all this money making all these new bike paths. You know, you've got the riverfront bike path going all the way from Chickamauga Dam all the way to downtown. You know, they're going to extend that into St. Elmo, where it's supposed to eventually be going up the mountain. When we have something come into town that is a bicycle race, why are they using big streets that cars are on instead of these bike paths that literally cost us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars? Shouldn't the bicycles be on the bicycle lanes instead of in the car lanes? Because I know that if I took my car and started driving on some of these bicycle lanes, there are a lot of people that might not be too happy about that. Well, now, in the eternal spirit of the city of Chattanooga, they're talking about redoing downtown Chattanooga, down on Broad Street, down by the aquarium, to make it a bicyclers' paradise, a biker's paradise. Oh, the problem is not even all the bicyclists are in favor of this thing. Like, you've got this one guy, Robert Raymondez. It says he's the kind of person that Chattanooga officials had in mind when they decided to reassign not one, but two of Broad Street's 6 lanes to bicycles. They're designing it for me, and I'm not going to use it, he said. I'm a cyclist, and I don't think a cyclist designed it. I mean, first off, you've got this wide lane because they're getting rid of not one, but 2 automotive lanes, which is plenty of room for a bike lane in each direction. So why close 2 lanes down? Why not have just 1 lane on one side of the street? They can park their bikes on that side of the street and walk across like everybody else. How many people are able to park their car exactly where they need to be? Not many. They end up having to, park maybe in a parking lot a block or so away. But the bicyclists, by golly, they got to be right in front of wherever they're going, and they have to inconvenience as most people as they can. Now, I'm not anti-bicycle. I've got a bicycle. My wife's got a bicycle. In fact, she's got a real nice Trek bicycle that she loves to use. There are places for bicycles. The bike path coming up from Chickamauga, that's a good place for the bicycles. These trails going up and down the mountains, that's a good place for bicycles. Get out and get some exercise, get the nice country air and whatnot. But ultimately, roads are for cars. Bicyclists make up less than 1% of the transportation in that area. And it says that, but what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to bump it up to like 4 to 5%, like cities like Portland, Oregon, and places back, out on the West Coast. Really? Our society is not like those back, in other areas. We need to do what's best for Chattanooga. I mean, parking is already a real challenge in downtown. Do we really need to do something that's going to take away even more parking to be even more inconveniencing for people just for bicycle lanes? And how many bicyclists are even going to use it? They don't use the bicycles that we try to let them ride for free. City keeps having these free days for using those bicycles, and nobody uses them. They say that in the 300 block of Broad Street, the new bike lanes will take away 15 parking places. Now, that's 15 people minimum, because not everybody's driving a car by themselves, whereas bicyclists are driving bicycles by themselves. That's at minimum of 15 fewer people that are going to be shopping or doing something downtown in that spot. And, of course, the businesses are worried about that. But then to go on top of that, it's the way that they're doing it, to keep people from getting run over, which, of course, is a true concern. They're actually putting like little curbs at the side of the lanes, the bicycle lanes, so that cars, if they start to drift out of their lane, they hit that. They couldn't do a rumble strip or something? That's why, like they said, bicyclists were not involved in the planning of this. They might have been able to tell you something like that, because what ends up happening is you've got a bunch of cars parking, then the bicycle lane. So what ends up happening is when the bicyclists are trying to go to these little cutouts in the curb, and they're trying to get around cars that are probably blocking their little entry areas, the bicyclists are having a hard time getting in and out safely. Traffic doesn't see them. They're busy trying to, maneuver in and out of this thing. Somebody's going to get hurt because the city is more concerned with what we ought to look like than what we ought to be doing. I mean, we've got a free bus service in town down by the choo-choo. Why couldn't they do something like, I don't know, maybe put a bunch of bicycle racks over by the choo-choo so the bicyclists, wherever they're coming from, can go over to the choo-choo, park their bicycles, and take the free shuttles wherever they're going downtown. Now, that's a common sense solution right there. Do we need a bunch of bicyclists running around downtown, eliminating all sorts of spots to park, making problems for pedestrians when they start tripping on these raised curbs? But of course, the city's not interested in common sense applications. They've got the image of Chattanooga to be concerned about. And by golly, we've got to be a bicycle friendly city. Whatever it takes, however many people it inconveniences, no matter how much tax money it takes, we've got to be bicycle friendly. Well, they say the Broad Street project is the first of several separated bike lanes that will be built in and around Chattanooga. 8th Street, MLK Boulevard, Bailey Avenue, Willow Street, and Orchard Knob will soon have bike lanes too. This is on top of the one going down Virginia Avenue, I'm assuming. Those must be the ones they're going to be doing in the future. Also, that we can go from 1% to maybe 5% for cities like Portland. Really? Really? Yeah, let's keep the bicycles on the bicycle lanes and the cars on the streets. If you disagree with me, give me a call. Phone number here is 800-8949. It's 800-8949. If you got an idea on where these bicyclers need to go to or how they need to do it, give me a call. I'd be glad to talk to you. Just wish somebody from the city would call, because, they never actually talk to the common people. They have these things that they call a charrette that they do. You know what I call a charrette, especially one that's given by the city of Chattanooga? I call it a charade. They go into these charrettes with a preconceived idea of what they want to do. They already know how much money they want to spend. They've already got plans on paper most of the time, because they'll show it to you. We're going to have a charrette where we can get public input. Well, I've been to several of these. They don't want public input. They want a public stamp of approval. And if you have a different idea, or if you have an opposition to whatever they're trying to do, you get shut down, or they just ignore you. And they do what they were going to do anyway. That's where the charade part comes in. They act like they're concerned. They act like they're going to listen to you. But they don't. You can see that in another area that we've got coming up. They say in the next couple of years, the central part of downtown Chattanooga will sprout a new look. They're going to have a large green area. They're going to be nice and wide and open. It's going to be in the central part of Chattanooga, downtown. So maybe we should start calling it Central Park. Kind of like in New York City. Yeah, they're talking about taking an area of 4.5 acres and completely converting it from what it is now. it cracked me up. One of the things they said is, we think there are a number of things that are authentically Chattanooga. There are something very specific things about the way that this community relates to public space and what they think about public space. No, I'll tell you what's authentically Chattanooga, and that's the way the city crams this stuff down our throats with no real public input. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes them doing what they're going to do works out, like the aquariums. There was a lot of people that thought the aquarium was going to fail. And it's actually been a really good thing for the city. But on the other hand, sometimes it doesn't work out the way the city thought. Let's look at the old farmers market. They had the old farmers market that a lot of people liked going to, and they were going to revitalize that area, and they were going to do this, and they were going to do that over there. Remember, and they bought all that property. The city bought it, taking it away from any use that private industry might have had for that area, because that's a valuable area right there on the south side of Chattanooga. But the city bought it all up. Then they were going to do different things with it. And they've changed their mind on it about like 10 times now. At one point they were parking police cars on it, and they had to put, big 6-foot fences around it that were falling down, because they weren't letting the officers take their cars home with them. Well, that didn't work out, and the officers ended up getting their cars back. Whatever happened to that fencing, I wonder? Did it just get thrown away, or did they reuse it for something else? Because, it was just paid for with tax money. But anyway, what's going on over there? Not a whole lot. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But you know what? Either way, it's us that ends up paying for it. It's our money that's well spent when it's something good, but it's bad spent when it's something bad. They're going to be taking something that is authentically Chattanooga, Miller Park, and they're going to totally change it on the assumption that what they want to do is better than what the people of this town like now. You look at the town now. We go out there for nightfall. People love that area. And answer me this. If they change the way that Miller Plaza looks, what are they going to do with all those homeless? Yeah, the homeless won't have any place to go to. Anyway, but they say that the park, plaza, and the sidewalks will all be reworked to make it as level as possible. To be as level as possible. Well, you know what? They're going to make a big soccer field out of it? Is that what they're wanting to do? They've got a nice picture here of kids running around and playing. So we're just going to turn the middle of downtown into a big green space. Then they're probably going to be actually putting lots of signs around it saying, stay off the grass. And even when they do that, they're going to be redoing the roads. They say that Patton Parkway is going to lose parking places. And do we really think that they're going to still have MLK going right up through the middle of that now that they've got 4th Avenue opened up? You think maybe, just maybe, MLK might get closed off? And then we're going to have to all start driving around downtown to be able to get over to Bailey and McCauley? They say the new design makes the park more of a destination than just a lunchtime spot. You know what? A lunchtime spot is a destination. People go there to have lunch. That's what makes it a lunchtime spot, because it's a nice spot to go eat lunch. But they can't be satisfied with that. They said people will be able to interact as a community. I'm sorry, I thought that's what we were doing with Nightfall. The design is still a work in progress, but they're going to make another presentation on October 29th when it will be more permanent. In other words, they've more solidified what they're going to do, regardless of what we have to say about it at that meeting. They're going to show us what they decided to do. That's why it's a charade, not a charrette. All they're going to be doing is telling us how much of our money they're going to be spending. And apparently they're going to start spending it as of mid-2016, which means about 6 months from now. Then, the city's going to start saying, oh, we need to raise, property taxes, or we need to start doing this, or we need to start doing that, because they got to come up with the money. Meanwhile, they're making all these plans for new bike lanes, for new parks, and new this and new that. How many potholes are in our streets? That's the main thing we got to ask. Oh, there we are. Sorry for the dead air there. Had a little glitch there for a second. But we've got to find out what the city is doing so that we can weigh in appropriately. They're having a city council meeting starting in just a few seconds. We need to get with our city councilman. We need to get with our mayor. And we need to tell them we need to fix up what we've got before we start worrying about what we're going to do next, especially when what they're doing next is inconveniencing people. I mean, they're already raising the rates downtown for parking. Then they're going to take parking spaces away. Where are they going to be putting the parking spaces to take the place of those? Aren't we supposed to be wanting people to go downtown? All the people going to Miller Plaza, even the new Miller Plaza, where are they going to park if everything's for the bicycles? Do these people even coordinate? Do the people that want all the bicycle lanes, are they getting input on the new park so that they're going to have park lanes for the bicyclists? Does the left hand know what the right hand's doing in City Hall? All I know is you just have all these different groups with their hands out, wanting more and more of our tax money. And folks, I'm out of money. Between all these illegal immigrants coming into town and needing money, with all these Syrians that are going to be being brought into Chattanooga and needing money, City Hall demanding more money. Every time you turn around, everybody in the world's got their hands out. And I, for one, am saying enough. Work within a budget like I have to, because when I run out of money, I don't eat. When you run out of money, when the city runs out of money, they just don't fix the streets. Oh, wait, the streets are not fixed now. They don't pave the alleyways unless they're bike lanes. We'll be back with more Cowboy Up with Tex after these words.
Give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect lots of clouds with a few passing showers out there through the nighttime. Muggy lows, mid and upper 60s. For the midweek, still unsettled. Lots of clouds. A few showers will move through on Wednesday. Highs into the upper 70s. A little drier and cooler Thursday. Experience the demo teams of the U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptor, FA-18 Hornet, U.S. Marine Corps Osprey, and the Geico Sky Typers at the Wings Over North Georgia Air Show in Rome this Saturday and Sunday. For tickets, wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. And I'm WDEF News Falls Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
It's Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party going on right now. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party is an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. Don't miss the party going on today at Rick Davis half-off remounting party. Give your diamond ring a fresh new look. Or
you give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Mostly cloudy and humid weather continues out there through the evening hours. Could see an isolated shower pop up tonight. A few more passing showers will move through. Lows mid and upper 60s. For Wednesday and Thursday, still unsettled. Lots of clouds. A few passing showers on Wednesday. A little drier and cooler Thursday. Check out Glass Farm Nursery, the largest pansy supplier in the area, with a new shipment of pansies and violas, still only $12.99 a flat, as well as large mums, only $17.99. Glass Farm, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
This is America Now with Meghan McCain.
Al Gore running is crazy. You're flying around in your private jet all over the world, and you want average Americans to care about the environment. Don't you think you should be doing your part as well?
Meghan McCain, weekdays at 7 p.m.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hey, all you gun enthusiasts! Carter Shooting Supply has just bought a crazy load of guns and is having a crazy huge sale event going on now. A huge inventory of Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, and Taurus, all on sale. Taurus guns have a mail-in rebate for $25 to $50. All long guns and all ammo on sale too, just in time for hunting season. Come in and take advantage of this crazy huge sale event going on now at Carter Shooting Supply, or shop from home by going to cartershootingsupply.com. Highway 58, Harrison. Check our prices before you buy.
Hi, I'm David Tulis, inviting you to make the move with me 9 to 11 a.m. weekdays here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. The David Tulis Show, featuring Nooganomics.com for Chattanooga and beyond. 9 to 11 a.m. weekdays.
Are you tired of feeling like just another account number to your financial advisor? Try something refreshingly different. Call Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal in Hickson at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the ingredients cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
We're back with Cowboy Up with Tex right here on 1240 AM. In fact, you can check us out on the new Hot News Cam, only on Hot News Talk Radio. That's right, not just on the AM radio in your car. You can check us out online on YouTube with our new Hot News Cam camera. You can actually watch us in the studio while we talk. You can actually look over our shoulder and sometimes see some of the stuff going on behind us. Of course, you can also just go to hotnewstalkradio.com, where we've got several different sites like our Hot News Now. We've got our daily deals, all sorts of things that you can find at hotnewstalkradio.com. You can even go to Twitter, where we have up-to-the-minute news flashes on Twitter under just Hot News Talk Radio. So we've got you covered no matter which way you go. You know, I was listening to the commercials that we were just having where we've got Carter Shooting Supply. They're right around the corner here from where we have the station, and it's always nice to be able to go in there. It's nice to be able to have a place where you can actually go target practice a little bit, you know, hone your skills down, make sure that you do have the ability to hit what you're shooting at. But sometimes it's nice to be able to find something a little closer to where I live, because this is not right around the corner from me. And I actually came across a place today called Lookout Firearms and Accessories over at 2919 Cummings Highway. I just accidentally ran across it today, and I talked to the owner over there, Randy Rains. He was a really nice guy. You know, he's been in business over there for a couple of months now, and he's building his practice. So, you know, if you're not able to find what you need at Carter Shooting, you might give them a try over there at Lookout Firearms. Anyway, going from there, you know, like I was saying a while ago, the city is always trying to find new feel-good projects for our money. Oh, you know, we need more bicycles. Oh, we need more green space downtown. Let's tear all the park out that people are been ranting and raving about for years. We need to tear all of that out so we can feel good about what we're doing. Meanwhile, things that are legitimate needs for city money, for county money, go lacking. You know, one of the things that falls under that is mental care for inmates. You know, we have the county facilities downtown where we have a lot of people from this area that go down there. And a large proportion of those people that are in the county jail, large proportion of the people that end up going to state facilities, like out at Silverdale, have honest mental problems. Some people say, well, you know, they're just a bunch of drug addicts. Well, that's true. But why do they feel like they need to be on drugs? Why do they feel the need to self-medicate in this way? We have people that are veterans that have true PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And they can't help some of the things they do because they have a mental illness. And it just gets shuffled away. I don't know when it became the thing that mentally ill people don't need to be treated. Why? We can just let them run around the city. We can just let them go here. We can just let them go there. Why? They have just as much right to do whatever they want as we do. But they're mentally ill. You know, it used to be that if you were sick, if you had something like typhoid or anything like that, they could treat you even if you didn't want to be treated because it was not only for the public good, it was for your good. But then when HIV first started rearing its ugly little head back in the 80s, all of a sudden, why, you're not allowed to tell anybody that they're sick. They can continue to do whatever they want to do, and it's none of your business. They came up with these new rules for the medical profession called the HIPAA rules, HIPPA, and I don't know what all it stands for, but all I know is that, you know, doctors aren't allowed to tell anybody about what's going on, even when it's the same thing to do. If you've got somebody that is super, super sick and they are spreading it around to other people, you're not supposed to tell anybody. Well, that's their decision. If they want to tell you that they're, you know, making everybody sick, well, that's their business. HIPAA rules do nothing to protect the public. But right now, you know, we've got, you know, hundreds of inmates across this nation, in fact, thousands of inmates across the state who have mental illnesses. And there's very few spots that they can actually get treated at. There's very few spots at a mental health treatment program for people that are in desperate need for it. And calling them criminals and putting them in jail is a disservice to them. It's a disservice to society. And the main thing it does is it doesn't allow us to be able to concentrate on the true criminals that are preying on society and these mentally ill people. We know that jail and prison do absolutely nothing to change behavior issues. And those with mental illnesses are never going to get better unless they receive treatment. And treatment is not just pumping them full of drugs, because as soon as they get out, they quit getting the drugs, they quit taking the drugs. And then they're right back where they were. They need treatment to find out what's wrong with them and to cure them of it, or to do something to make them as safe as possible away from society so they're not hurting other people while they're not hurting themselves. A lot of these inmates, they shuffle in and out of the jail for minor offenses. Sometimes it's just, stuff like they're being a public nuisance. They're running around the streets screaming and everything. Well, they get arrested for being a public nuisance. They get thrown in jail for a week or two. But it doesn't really cure the problem. It just gives them a longer and longer rap sheet. So that, the third or fourth time, well, maybe instead of a week or two, they're getting a month or two. Then maybe they're getting up to, $11.99 because it's still just a misdemeanor. But they're not really getting cured. As soon as they get let out, they're going to go right back to doing it. So county jails kind of become, you might say, a type of purgatory. They're just stuck in limbo. They're not getting better, but they're not being able to do what they want to do either. The only help that these inmates get is medication. But the lack of treatment and rehabilitation is what they really have a problem with. They need to get true treatment. A lot of people say, well, if we spend as much money on education as we do on prisons, and that is kind of a fact that I do agree with. But the problem there is, of course, is that just like with the inmates, where we're not forcing them to get treatment when they're on the outside, what good does it do to spend a lot of money on education if they don't go to school, if they skip school, drop out? The bottom line is that the state of mental health care for mentally ill offenders is dismal. All across the nation, not just here in Chattanooga, but everywhere. Medication by itself will not solve the problem, particularly when you're dealing with people who are both mentally ill and chemically dependent. Plus, most jails have not been able to expand services and staffing to meet mental health needs because of money. They're doing good to have the number of guards they need. They're doing good to have the amount of money that they need to have the jail. It's imperative that counties throughout the state have more therapy, medical options, and staff training to prevent mentally ill inmates from reoffending. If we could get the mentally ill out of the jail and prison settings to where they're receiving honest to goodness, true treatment to where they can become productive members of society again, that frees up more jail space for the true criminals. Of course, you could make some argument that even the true criminals are mentally ill themselves. But that's a whole different show. One of the problems that we have is that officials themselves depend on inmates to disclose if they have been diagnosed in the past. I mean, when the inmates get brought in, well, have you ever seen a doctor? Have you ever done this? Well, if they tell you no, how do you know? Well, see, that's where the problems with HIPAA comes in, is there's no way to check. It's kind of like these gun background checks that they want to do. You get this nice little form that you have to fill out. But if you don't disclose it, and HIPAA is not allowed to tell you otherwise, how do you know? It's not your fault. It's not the jail's fault necessarily when they don't have all the pertinent information because somebody's preventing them from getting it. You can only treat somebody if you know what's wrong with them. And when they don't have the money to get the proper people in there to diagnose it, it's kind of a catch-22. The system is impacted, and there are people trying their best, but they're being overwhelmed because the hospitals are overflowing. It's not just a jail problem. A lot of times it's a community problem. Well, you know, they do have some areas in the prison where inmates who are deemed to be a danger to themselves or others can be put. But that does nothing to treat the problem. In fact, a lot of times it just makes the problem even worse, because if you've got an inmate that's basically in solitary confinement, it's just going to compound his problems and make him even worse, not better. We need to have a facility to be able to send these people to. And no, I'm not talking about Moccasin Bend. Moccasin Bend is basically a facility for nonviolent people. They're not set up for violent, mentally ill people. We need a facility like that. I know back in Texas, where I used to work for the prison system, they've actually got several different prisons that are set up as health facilities specifically to treat inmates who are both physically and mentally ill. We need to be looking at something like that here in Hamilton County, a place for them. And they need to get the funding necessary to treat these people in a humane manner rather than worrying about more bicycle paths. You know, they need to be monitored by correctional officers who are well trained to handle dramatic changes in behavior of the mentally ill. When people who are mentally ill start acting out, officers need to be able to recognize it for what it is and not just dogpile on top of them, shock them with tasers and stuff like that till they comply. Mentally ill people don't necessarily just comply. We need to take care of what is going on before we start worrying about new stuff. Whether it's the mentally ill inmates, whether it's the potholes in the street. You know, they said that the Department of Justice estimated there are approximately 300,000 men and women in U.S. prisons who are seriously mentally ill. That's why we need to do something like an inside-outside program, like I was kind of mentioning a second ago. We need an inside facility that can help treat them correctly, but then we need to do something as a community for an outside program. You know, criminals can go to a halfway house, but we don't really have anything like a halfway house for mentally ill inmates. We need community-based organizations that can help provide patients with an integrated medical service and social services to help them make a smooth transition from jail so that they don't, once they get out, start reoffending and re-self-medicating, getting back on drugs, ending up right where they were. I know one guy that while he's in jail, he's a model inmate. He does everything exactly by the book. Man, he's great while he's in jail. But as soon as he gets out, the demons start jumping up and down on him, and he ends up falling back into the drugs. As soon as he's back into the drugs, now he's got to steal to be able to buy the drugs, or he starts selling the drugs to be able to buy more drugs for him. And he gets arrested again. He's been in and out of jail I don't know how many times. You know, we kind of joke that it's just a revolving door. Well, for him, it really is a revolving door. He needs some sort of treatment so that when he gets out, kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, they've got Narcotics Anonymous, but we need to make it more mandatory that they do something like this. Make it part of their sentencing or whatever, that when they get paroled, they have to go to these meetings. They have to get all sorts of different testing done on them because it's for their good as well as ours. Well, let's see. Well, Ted Cruz is back in the news again. He slammed Republican leadership on Monday for leading attacks from the left as its conservative grassroots base. It's bad enough when the Democrats are jumping up and down on Republicans, but when the Republican leadership itself is jumping up and down on Republicans, that just kind of takes the cake. One of the things that Ted Cruz said was the Democrats are relentless in pursuing their principles. He said they are willing to crawl over broken glass with a knife between their teeth to fight for their principles. And if we look at the recent things going on, like with Planned Parenthood, that's very obvious. Facts don't matter. They're going to fight for their principles, whatever it takes. The Republican leadership, on the other hand, even when the facts are in their court, just automatically surrender. He said President Obama simply has to utter the word shutdown and Republican leadership runs for the hill. It funds 100% of Obama's agenda, executive amnesty, Obamacare, the Iranian nuclear deal. It presents a blank check to Barack Obama. How is it that Speaker Boehner could promise there would never be a shutdown? It's because Speaker Boehner has cut a deal with Nancy Pelosi. Cruz said he believes Boehner plans to cling to his speakership for another month in order to ram through a spending deal which will continue to fund Planned Parenthood and avoiding a government shutdown. A lot of people have talked about how this could have been handled so much different if somebody just had the intestinal fortitude to stand up. That's one of the reasons why Boehner has been hounded so much, is because he doesn't stand up on principle. Cruz said, we keep winning elections, but the people we put in office don't do what they said they're going to do. GOP leadership is quite competent and willing to fight. The question is, what are they fighting for? And apparently, voters are far, far down that list. And even at that, then you not just Boehner, but he says, you notice how much energy Majority Leader McConnell devotes to attacking conservatives? Notice how much energy Speaker Boehner devotes to attacking conservatives? Boehner has several times gone on Face the Nation and called Ted Cruz a jackass, called him a false prophet. He's mocked the Tea Party voters who helped elect him and significant Republican majorities. You know how they kept saying, oh, we need a majority, we need a majority. And they depended on the Tea Party to get them that majority. And when they got that majority, he turns around and condemns them. In fact, when he was describing the Tea Party, one of the things that John Boehner said was that garbage men get used to the smell of bad garbage. After all, prisoners learn how to become prisoners, right? Well, Cruz said Boehner is free to insult whomever he likes, but where is that level of venom and animosity to President Obama and the Democrats that he keeps for his own people? It's Republican leadership that leads the onslaught attacking conservatives during Boehner's embarrassing time as a speaker. Needless to say, he can't be gone soon enough. He should have left immediately instead of staying in to do one more gotcha to the American public and the Republicans in general. Meanwhile, on Sunday night at a Democratic National Committee sponsored event in New York City, billed as a LBGT gala, Obama took to the podium and warned Christians across the country that their religious freedom means nothing in the face of gay rights. He said, we have to say clearly that our religious freedom doesn't grant us the freedom to deny our fellow Americans their constitutional rights. Well, first off, I don't know that we're denying anybody their constitutional rights, but they're certainly denying us our constitutional rights. Obama patronized Christians and Christian groups about their genuine concerns, but ultimately suggested that the issue was being pushed by Republicans for votes. He's saying this during an anti-Christian speech. After thoroughly trashing Christians everywhere and essentially promising that their religious liberty would not be recognized under his rule, he called for the LGBT community to remain vigilant and assured them that he would continue to fight for progress. There again, talk about mental help being needed. So many of these people that claim to be LGBT do have mental health problems. Body dysmorphia, things of that nature. Like they say, when everybody is crazy, how do you tell the sane ones? They're the ones that are in the insane asylum because the sane people seem crazy to all the crazy people. And boy, that's becoming more and more evident every day. When are we going to stand up? When are we going to cowboy up, Chattanooga, and demand what's right?
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga.